Welcome to Zoe Stories. I agreed to a girls' night. Now I'm one of the girls. If someone had told me a month ago that a casual girls' night would flip my entire world upside down, I would have laughed. Back then, I was just Ryan, a 23-year-old IT analyst, quiet, cautious, and invisible in most social settings unless someone's Wi-Fi was broken. I wasn't the bold type, never the center of attention, and certainly not the kind of guy you'd expect to have a drawer full of secret clothes hidden behind an old gaming console. I lived in a cozy one-bedroom apartment in the middle of a buzzing city, surrounded by gray buildings and loud traffic, but inside, my world was peaceful. Too peaceful, maybe. Most nights were spent gaming, scrolling through memes, or pretending I was fixing code while daydreaming about something far more dangerous. I had a secret. It started years ago. Innocent curiosity, maybe even envy. I'd watched girls glide through life in skirts and makeup, seemingly confident, expressive, alive in a way I never felt I could be. I told myself it was nothing, just fascination. But that fascination turned into a craving, a longing to feel those soft fabrics on my skin, to wear the colors and styles that lit up others' faces, not out of mockery or parody, but because I wanted to feel beautiful too. Wanted to see myself as someone else. Someone softer. Someone freer. I didn't even have a name for her yet. The version of me I only saw in the mirror when I was alone. And only one person in my life had ever gotten close to discovering her. Emma. Emma and I had been dating for almost a year. She was smart, sarcastic, way out of my league, and stunning in that cool girl, I steal your hoodie and make it fashion kind of way. She was the first girl who ever made me feel seen, but not the way I secretly wanted to be seen. She didn't know about the bag in the closet. The one stuffed with tights, a cheap wig I ordered under a fake name, and a lipstick I had to buy twice because I threw the first one away in shame. Emma worked in marketing, confident, social, extroverted. She was the type of person who hosted brunches, game nights, and yes, those infamous girls' nights. I hated them, mostly because they made me nervous. Not because I didn't like her friends, but because every time she talked about them painting nails or doing makeovers, a part of me ached. I wanted to be part of that world so badly. To sit among them, laugh with them, feel like one of them. Of course, I never dared say that. Instead, I stayed the supportive boyfriend on the sidelines. I'd nod when she talked about her group chats. I'd smile when she mentioned the latest trend or makeup hack. And I'd hide the envy burning inside my chest. Until last Friday. We were curled up on the couch, halfway through a horror movie, popcorn between us, when she casually mentioned her upcoming girls' night. "They're coming over Saturday," she said, licking butter off her fingers. Face masks, wine, trashy reality TV, the usual. I laughed. Sounds wild. She looked at me, suddenly mischievous. "You should join us." I blinked. What? I'm serious. It could be fun. You could be like an honorary girl for the night. Her grin widened. "We could give you a makeover." My heart stopped. I forced a chuckle. "You're joking." "I mean, unless you're too scared." She raised an eyebrow, teasing. "Come on, Ree. You never do anything spontaneous." I shook my head, flustered. "That's not exactly my scene." She shrugged, already turning back to the movie. "Suit yourself." But the idea had been planted, and it didn't let go. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words echoed in my mind on loop. You could be like an honorary girl. Did she know? Was she testing me? No, Emma couldn't know. I was too careful. Still, the invitation was real. And maybe this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to be myself, without guilt, without secrets. What if I just said yes? What if I joined them? What if I let her turn me into one of the girls? I didn't answer right away. I told her I'd think about it. But by the next day, something had shifted. I found myself shaving my legs in the shower, trembling but thrilled. I went through the bag in my closet, picking out my favorite pair of tights, the pink skirt I'd only dared to wear once. I even bought a pair of clip-on earrings, just in case. Emma had no idea the door she'd opened. And I had no idea that walking through it would change my life forever. The silence in the apartment was loud. Outside, the city buzzed like always, distant car horns, muffled voices through the window. But in here, it was just me. Me and the echo of Emma's words from last night. You should join us. Be one of the girls for a night. We'll give you a full makeover. She'd said it while giggling, tossing popcorn into her mouth, eyes sparkling like it was just another playful suggestion. A dare, maybe. But when I forced a laugh in return, pretending to shrug it off, she'd looked me dead in the eyes and added, I think you look cute. That word, cute, had hit me like a pulse of electricity. She didn't know. She couldn't know. Could she? All morning I told myself I wasn't going to do it. That I'd say I changed my mind. That it was just a joke and nothing more. But by noon, I found myself standing in front of the closet. Not the part where I kept my boring button-down shirts or tech conference hoodies. The drawer. The one at the bottom. The one I never let anyone see. My fingers hesitated above the handle. Don't do it. You'll regret it. What if Emma finds out? But another voice whispered louder. She invited you. This is your chance. My hand moved before my brain could object. The drawer slid open with a soft clunk. There it was, my secret self, folded and hidden in fabric. A blush pink ribbed sweater. A flowy, navy blue skirt that skimmed just above the knees. Tights, still perfectly rolled from the last time I'd worn them. 2 pairs of underwear I had bought under a fake name at a discount store. And nestled in the corner, the small canvas bag of makeup I'd only dared open in the shadows of night. I stared at it all, my heart racing. This was dangerous, reckless. And yet, the longer I stared, the more I felt that craving swell in my chest again. That desperate, aching desire to feel something more than just invisible. To be seen, but not as Ryan, the quiet guy with the IT job and the hoodie. Not the boyfriend, who always looked a little uncomfortable in pictures. As her, whoever she was. I peeled off my t-shirt, then my jeans. My skin prickled in the cool air of the apartment. I paused to listen, no sounds from the hallway. Emma wouldn't be home for hours. I picked up the tights and sat on the edge of the bed, slowly rolling them up my legs. The nylon clung to me like a second skin. Each inch I pulled higher made my heart pound harder. The sensation was electric, soft, clinging, comforting. They weren't just tights. They were transformation. Next, the underwear. Lacy, light. I slid them on and looked down at myself. Already, I was disappearing. The skirt came next, high-waisted. It zipped up with a soft sound and flared gently at the hips, giving me a silhouette I barely recognized, but loved. The sweater followed. It smelled faintly like lavender from the last time I wore it. It hugged my arms snugly, the sleeves just long enough to graze my wrists. I stood up slowly and walked to the full-length mirror. And there, I saw her. Not fully, not perfectly. My shoulders still looked a little too wide. My chin too sharp. I hadn't done my face yet. The wig wasn't on. But the essence was there. A glimmer. A shadow of who I really was under all the layers of pretending. She was beautiful. And scared out of her mind. I touched the mirror with my fingertips. My reflection trembled slightly for my breath. I didn't know her name yet. But she knew me. I crossed to Emma's vanity. My heart thudded in my chest like it might burst out. I knelt down and opened the zippered makeup pouch. Foundation. Mascara. A single stick of warm nude lipstick. I took a deep breath and pulled my hair back, pinning it flat the way I'd practiced. I reached for the foundation sponge. It felt surreal, like I was trespassing in someone else's life. But no, this was mine. Maybe more mine than anything else ever had been. I dabbed foundation onto my face. Lightly at first. I'd watched Emma enough times to know how not to overdo it. Then concealer. A bit of powder. My hands moved slowly, reverently. I applied mascara next, my lashes fluttering under the wand. It made my eyes look rounder, more awake. More feminine. My breath caught in my throat. Then the lipstick. I twisted the tube and ran the soft color across my lips in one trembling stroke. I looked in the mirror again. She was closer now. I could feel her heartbeat pulsing in my chest. I reached under the bed and pulled out the wig box. It wasn't perfect, brown synthetic with a slightly too shiny sheen, but it would do. I fitted it on my head and brushed the strands over my shoulders. I adjusted the parting and added 2 bobby pins. Then I stepped back. The person staring at me in the mirror wasn't Ryan. Not anymore. My throat tightened. My eyes stung. I didn't know what to call her. I didn't know how to explain her. But she had been hiding for so long. And now she was free. I sat on the edge of the bed, legs crossed awkwardly, skirt brushing against my thighs, hands folded in my lap like I was afraid to move. The silence in the apartment felt different now, less peaceful, more dangerous. Like the calm before a storm. I kept staring at myself in the mirror across the room. The wig wasn't perfect, and the makeup wasn't exactly professional, but something about the image in front of me made my stomach flutter. I looked soft, vulnerable, feminine, almost like a stranger, but a familiar one. Someone I'd dreamed about in flashes, but never allowed to breathe. But now she was out, sitting here, breathing my air, claiming my skin. And I didn't want her to go. I picked up my phone to check the time, hoping Emma wouldn't be home early. It was only 1:32 p.m. Still hours to go. A buzz in my hand snapped me out of the haze. Text from Emma. Quick change of plans. Might have to stay a little later at work. Can you let the girls in if they arrive early? My blood turned cold.
What?
She hadn't mentioned that part. I wasn't ready for them. I wasn't ready for anyone to see me like this. I stared at the screen, rereading the message over and over, heart pounding. Emma's girls, her college friends, her coworkers, the kind of women who could pick out a good lipstick shade just by glancing at your face, might walk in at any moment.
And see me.
Like this. And then what? Would they laugh? Gasp? Text their group chats about Emma's weird boyfriend who wants to be a girl? I stood up too fast. My heel wobbled. I grabbed the dresser to steady myself, breathing heavily. Take it off. Just take it all off. Put it away before anyone knocks. But my reflection begged me not to. She looked so alive. So real. I walked into the bathroom and looked at her under the bright vanity light. I tried to smile. She smiled back. Even if the world didn't understand her. Even if Emma's friends didn't. Maybe I did. Maybe that was enough. A knock at the door shattered the silence. Knock, knock. My entire body tensed. That was real. Too real. I crept toward the living room, heels softly tapping against the hardwood floor. I stopped a foot away from the door. My breath hitched. I glanced through the peephole. It was Lena, Emma's best friend. Blonde, always in heels, always with a smart remark. She held a bottle of rose in one hand and her phone in the other, scrolling casually. I couldn't breathe. She knocked again. I could pretend I wasn't home. But then she'd text Emma. And Emma would call. And eventually someone would find out.
No.
There was no hiding anymore. With trembling fingers, I unlocked the door and opened it slowly. Lena looked up and her eyes widened. I waited for the laugh.
The gasp.
The shock. Instead, her eyebrows slowly raised. Then she smirked. Well. Ryan, is that you? I tried to speak, but my throat closed. She tilted her head. You look kinda amazing, not gonna lie. That lip color?
Deadly.
Emma said I should join the girls' night. I stammered, heart hammering. And she didn't tell us you were coming in full drag? Lena whistled and stepped inside. Girl, I am living for this. She gave me an approving once-over, tossed her shoes by the door, and plopped down on the couch like this was just a normal Thursday. I blinked. You're not weirded out? Lena rolled her eyes. Please. You think this is the strangest thing I've seen? Try living in LA for 5 years. Besides, she looked me up and down again. You're pulling it off. And anyone brave enough to open that door dressed like that deserves a damn trophy. My knees nearly buckled with relief. I just didn't want to freak anyone out. You didn't. You surprised me, sure, but I'm not mad about it. She grabbed the remote. Now sit your pretty self down and tell me what foundation you used, because that glow is not accidental. I smiled, actually smiled, and took a seat beside her, careful to smooth my skirt as I crossed my legs. Maybe this wouldn't be a disaster after all. The next knock came 10 minutes later. Maya and Jess, giggling in the hallway, arms full of snacks and scented candles. Linnea, open up. We brought wine and those face masks that smell like birthday cake. Before I could panic, Lena stood up. Let me do the honors, she said, shooting me a sly wink. I sat frozen on the couch. The wig still clung to my scalp. My legs were tucked under me in the skirt like a trained ballerina afraid to break posture. I couldn't even reach for my phone. My hands were trembling too hard. I heard the door open. Then gasps. Oh my God, Jess whispered.
Wait.
Is that Ryan? Maya said, not bothering to lower her voice. Lena shut the door and walked back in like she was hosting a reality show. Ladies, meet your fourth queen for the evening. She's new, she's fabulous, and she needs a better pair of heels, but otherwise, she's killing it. The two girls blinked at me. I opened my mouth to explain, to apologize, but then Maya smiled. Oh my God, you look so good, she said, stepping closer, eyes wide with excitement. Wait, did Emma do your makeup? I swallowed. No. I did it. No way. Your contour's better than mine. Look at this, Jess.
Jess leaned in. Dang. You've got skills, Ryan.
Or should we say, Riley? The sudden name hit me like a soft shockwave. I blinked. Riley, I repeated under my breath. They didn't flinch. No mockery. No hesitation. It felt real.
Right.
And that was the moment I stopped trying to hide. I smiled, nervously but fully. Maya sat beside me and pulled out nail polish bottles. So, what are we doing first? Manis, facials, or makeover round 2? Because I brought lashes and I am dying to see you in them. We ended up doing all 3. Within half an hour, Jess was teaching me how to walk with a book on my head. Posture, babe, posture. While Maya curled the ends of my wig with a travel-sized iron. Lena poured us wine like we were in the middle of an HBO show about rich housewives. The apartment buzzed with laughter, girlish chatter, and a dizzying freedom I never thought I'd be allowed to feel. I wasn't just tolerated. I was being celebrated. Every compliment felt like it peeled back a layer I didn't know I had. Every moment made me forget that I had once feared this. By the time we were doing a mini photo shoot in front of the window, I was posing with my hand on my hip, head tilted slightly, smiling like it was my birthright. Because in that moment it was. But underneath it all, I knew the storm hadn't passed yet. Emma still hadn't come home. And I had no idea what she'd say when she saw how far I'd taken it. The clock ticked past 7:45 p.m. My heart started pounding again. For the past couple of hours, I had been floating, lost in laughter, sparkling under compliments, sipping wine with Maya and Jess while Lena gave us a ridiculous mini runway challenge in the hallway. But as the sun disappeared behind the buildings outside and the apartment lights dimmed into a cozy golden glow, I couldn't stop checking the door. Because Emma would be home any minute now. And she still didn't know. She didn't know I'd said yes to her invitation. Not half-heartedly, not with a silly wig and a 1-minute lipstick swipe, but completely. She didn't know the skirt I was wearing had once been hidden in the back of a drawer, like contraband. She didn't know I had found someone, tonight that I couldn't unsee. Myself.
The real me.
But would she recognize me? Would she accept this girl the same way her friends had? My stomach twisted as Jess offered to help me regloss my lips. Riley, she said playfully, your shine's fading. I smiled at the name again. It was mine now. Given without judgment. Claimed without fear. Just as she finished applying the gloss, the door handle jiggled. Every conversation stopped. I froze. Lena raised her eyebrows. Showtime. The door opened. Emma stepped inside, clutching her purse and a canvas tote full of wine bottles. Sorry I'm late. Work was. Her eyes landed on me. She stopped mid-sentence. The entire room held its breath. Emma looked from my heels to my legs to my skirt to my face, and then finally into my eyes. My heart slammed against my chest like it wanted out. I stood slowly, unsure of what to say. My voice came out shaky. I know you were joking about the makeover, but I wanted to try. The girls stayed silent. No one moved. Emma blinked. For a long second, she just stared. Then she set her bags down.
Slowly.
Quietly. I braced myself for rejection, for confusion, for that look, the look where someone realizes you've become a stranger. But instead, she smiled.
Soft. Warm.
Like sunlight after rain. I wasn't joking, she said. I blinked. You weren't. She stepped closer.
No.
I thought you might actually say yes. I hoped you would. I've noticed how you look at my clothes sometimes. How your fingers linger on fabrics. And how your eyes light up when I talk about makeup. You noticed all that? Emma reached out and gently tucked a strand of the wig behind my ear. I've always wondered if you were waiting for a moment to show me. I wanted to give you one. Tears pricked at my eyes. You don't think it's weird? I think it's brave. And beautiful. Her eyes scanned me again, slower this time. You're beautiful, Riley. My knees nearly buckled. That name on her lips meant more than anything. I stepped forward and hugged her, burying my face into her neck. She held me tight, and in that moment I knew I hadn't just crossed a line tonight. I had stepped into who I truly was. The evening settled into something magical. Emma sat beside me on the couch, our fingers laced together, while the girls buzzed around us, giddy from wine and leftover makeup fumes. Maya was braiding Jess's hair, Lena was queuing up a ridiculous rom-com, and the entire apartment felt like a safe little bubble, a glowing world where I wasn't pretending, wasn't hiding. I was Riley now, not just for a game or a dare. Not just for tonight. Riley was real. I still can't believe how good you look, Emma whispered in my ear, tracing her fingers gently along my bare thigh. I blushed, the gloss on my lips sticky and sweet. You really mean it? I asked, still trying to believe this wasn't some dream. This doesn't freak you out? Emma tilted her head and gave me that look, that honest, soul-deep look only someone who truly knew you could give. I think it's the most honest you've ever looked, she said softly. I don't know what it means yet. And that's okay. But I know I've never seen you smile like this. I felt my chest tighten, not with fear, but something closer to freedom. Like a door had opened inside me and I'd finally stepped through it. But then it happened. The knock. A sharp, sudden knock on the front door. It wasn't playful. It wasn't the soft, familiar knock the girls had used. This was firm. Lena froze, holding the remote midair. Jess and Maya looked at each other with wide eyes. Emma stood, her expression shifting. That's not one of the girls. I sat bolt upright. My legs tensed. Every part of me screamed to run, to hide in the bathroom, rip off the wig, scrub away the lipstick. But I couldn't move. Another knock. Louder this time. Emma stepped toward the door. Who is it? A voice came through the wood, male. Familiar.
Confused.
Hey, it's Ben. From 4C? Sorry. Wi-Fi's out again. I was hoping I could borrow your. My blood turned to ice.
Ben.
My coworker. The guy I shared an office Zoom link with every Monday. The guy who had no idea about this version of me. And if he saw me like this. My eyes darted to Emma. She looked just as frozen. No, don't open it, I whispered, standing up too fast, the skirt swirling around my thighs. Please. But it was too late. The lock clicked. The door cracked open. Ben's voice trailed off mid-sentence. I watched, helpless, from across the living room as his eyes swept the apartment. He saw Maya and Jess on the floor, Lena on the couch, and then me.
Wig.
Heels. Makeup.
Skirt.
Ben blinked. His lips parted slightly. Ryan. Silence. My world slowed to a crawl. The wig suddenly felt heavy. My lips, painted and perfect minutes ago, felt ridiculous. Like a costume. Like a lie. I wanted the floor to open and swallow me whole. Emma stepped into the doorway, half blocking his view.
We're in the middle of something.
Can you come by later? Ben nodded slowly, still staring at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Sorry. And just like that, he was gone. The door shut. But the damage, it was already done. I sank back onto the couch, shaking. He saw me, I whispered. Emma sat beside me again, rubbing my back. He won't say anything. You don't know that. She hesitated.
No.
But I do know this. You didn't do anything wrong. I looked down at my skirt, at my trembling hands. He's going to think I'm a freak. Emma took my chin and turned my face toward hers. He's going to think whatever he wants. But you are brave, Riley. And whatever happens next, we'll deal with it. Together. And with those words, the final piece of the build-up locked into place. I couldn't go back now. I didn't want to. But I also had no idea what the consequences would be. The morning after the girls' night felt unreal. Sunlight streamed into the bedroom, catching flecks of glitter on the bedsheets, smudges of mascara on a makeup wipe tossed onto the nightstand. My borrowed heels sat neatly beside the door, the skirt I wore still draped across the back of a chair like a memory I didn't want to fold away. And in the mirror, staring back at me with sleepy eyes and tousled brown wig hair, was her, Riley. Even after a night's sleep, she hadn't disappeared. I should have been exhausted, but I wasn't. My body buzzed with leftover adrenaline, with freedom, with fear. Because Ben had seen me. And that meant the world outside this apartment, the office, my coworkers, my job, might already be whispering. Emma yawned beside me, stretching in her tank top. Her hair was wild and beautiful. She rolled over and kissed my cheek without hesitation, like kissing Riley was now second nature. But I could barely enjoy it. I picked up my phone with shaking hands. 2 missed calls from an unknown number. 1 message from Ben.
Hey, can we talk?
I stared at the text, so long it blurred. Emma leaned over my shoulder. He messaged you? I nodded. You don't have to reply, she said quickly. You owe him nothing. But what if he tells someone? What if HR finds out somehow? What if he already posted something? Emma's face tightened. Then we deal with it. You didn't do anything wrong. But my mind didn't care about right and wrong. It cared about damage control. My thumb hovered over the reply button. I didn't press it. Instead, I showered, still wearing the earrings I'd left in from last night. I pulled on loose jeans and a hoodie again, trying to return to normal, but I couldn't escape the feeling that I was putting armor on the real me, locking her back in a drawer. But this time, the armor didn't feel safe. It felt suffocating. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I told Emma I was going for a walk, but instead I messaged Ben.
Hey. Yeah.
We can talk. Downstairs in the courtyard. He replied almost instantly. See you there. I changed twice before leaving the apartment. First into my usual guy clothes, then out of them again, back into the same soft jeans I'd worn as Riley, a light sweatshirt, and just a touch of lip balm. Not full makeup. Not full her. But not completely him either. I was walking a line now, and I wasn't sure which side I'd land on. The courtyard was quiet. Ben was already there, sitting on the edge of the fountain, nervously tapping his foot. When he saw me, he stood. Hey, he said, eyes flicking down and then back up, definitely noticing the gloss. I stopped a few feet away, arms crossed, heartbeat in my throat. Hi. He shifted his weight. Thanks for meeting. I nodded. So, what did you want to talk about? Ben looked around like someone might be listening. Then he leaned in, lowering his voice. Look, I didn't mean to walk in on anything. I wasn't trying to snoop. I didn't know. He trailed off. You didn't know I dressed like that? I said, voice low but steady.
No.
I mean, obviously not. But he rubbed the back of his neck. I've been thinking about it. And I'm not here to out you, or anything. My eyes narrowed. Then why did you message me? Because I needed to say something, he said. Because I think you're braver than I've ever been. That caught me off guard. I blinked. What? Ben laughed nervously. You looked happy last night.
I've never seen you like that in the office.
And honestly, you pulled it off. I'm not saying I understand everything, but I respect it. And I'm not going to tell anyone. I studied his face.
He looked honest.
A little awkward, but not mocking. Still, I had to ask, "You're really not weirded out?" Ben shrugged. Maybe a little. At first. But then I realized we all wear masks, man. Some of us just wear better ones than others. Something heavy inside me cracked. I wasn't expecting support. Not from him. "Thanks," I whispered, unsure what else to say. He smiled and gave a quick nod. "Look, if anyone does say anything, I'll shut it down. I've got your back." That's when I realized something. He had seen Riley last night. Fully. And still chose kindness. As I turned to leave, Ben called out, "Hey, is Riley your name?" I hesitated, then turned back, smiling just a little.
"Yeah,
it is." I stepped back into the apartment, heart still pounding from the meeting with Ben. Emma was on the couch, laptop open, a cup of tea steaming beside her. She looked up the second the door clicked shut. "Well," she asked. I nodded slowly. "He's not going to tell anyone." Relief washed across her face. "That's good, right?" I nodded again, but something inside me still felt unsteady.
"Yeah."
"It's just strange. He saw me. Really saw me. And he wasn't cruel. But now that someone else knows, it's like I can't pretend this is just a game anymore." Emma stood and walked toward me, her arms wrapping around my waist. "It never was a game, Riley." I rested my head on her shoulder. "I'm scared." She held me tighter. "I know, but you don't have to be." We stood there in silence, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator and the quiet tick of the wall clock. Then she whispered, "Come with me." She led me into the bedroom. The clothes from last night were still draped across the chair. My makeup bag was half-zipped, the lipstick slightly uncapped. Emma stepped over to the vanity and picked up the tube. "You said something last night, that you didn't know what to call her. The version of you in the mirror." I nodded. "Well, now you do," she said. "Riley. And she deserves to see herself again." I hesitated. Then slowly, deliberately, I sat down at the vanity. Emma stood behind me, her hands resting lightly on my shoulders. I stared into the mirror. The boy was still there, barefaced, tired eyes, messy hair. But under the surface, she was waiting. Emma reached into the bag and handed me the lipstick. I took it. My hand still trembled slightly, but I uncapped the tube and brought it to my lips. One swipe. Then another. The color bloomed across my mouth like a promise. Emma brushed my hair back and kissed the top of my head. "There she is." I smiled. But something still tugged at me, something unfinished. "I need more," I said. Emma raised an eyebrow. "More? I need to be her. All the way." I stood up, went to the closet, and pulled out the pink sweater and skirt again. The tights. The same heels. I dressed with purpose now, not with fear, not with hesitation. And when I turned back to the mirror, Riley stared back at me, full of grace and vulnerability and defiance. But I wasn't done. I picked up my phone. Emma stepped beside me. "What are you doing?" I opened the camera app and pressed record. I held the phone up in front of me. My hands were still shaking, but not from fear this time. From adrenaline. From truth. Riley was fully present now. Gloss lips, soft sweater, skirt hugging her hips, legs crossed delicately at the ankles in those slightly too tall heels. The wig brushed her shoulders like it belonged there. She belonged. And for the first time in my life, I wanted the world to see her. Emma stood beside me, her hand lightly on my back. Silent support. No judgment. Just a steady presence grounding me to the moment. I tapped record. The little red appeared in the corner of the screen. There was no going back now. "Hi," I said, staring into the lens. My voice sounded small at first, but with each word, it grew steadier, stronger. "Some of you know me as Ryan, but tonight I want to introduce someone else. Someone I've been hiding for a long time. Her name is Riley, and she's me." I paused. For years, I told myself this side of me didn't matter, that it was wrong, shameful, something to keep buried. I'd dress up when I was alone, and then stuff it all back into a drawer before anyone came home. Like I could erase her. A deep breath. But last night, I didn't hide, and something amazing happened. I felt free. Not scared. Not ashamed. Just alive. Another pause. My throat tightened, but I pushed through. I don't know what this means yet. I don't have all the answers. But I know this. Riley isn't going away. And if you're watching this, maybe you have a version of yourself you've been hiding, too. I smiled softly. It's okay to let them out. Even if it's messy. Even if it's terrifying. You deserve to exist. I tapped stop. Emma reached over and took the phone from me, gently lowering it from my hands. You don't have to post it, she said. Just filming it was brave enough. But I knew I had to, because this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about claiming space, owning truth. I tapped upload. 30 seconds later, the video was public. Not to my work account. Not to a professional network. Just a personal page. A quiet corner of the internet I never used. But now it held something real. I set the phone down on the nightstand. And we waited. At first, nothing. A few views. No comments. Then one. I see you, Riley. And you're beautiful. Then another. Crying. This is what courage looks like. And then dozens. A wave. Like a dam had broken. My heart pounded as the screen lit up, one message after another. Emma kissed my cheek. You did it. I nodded slowly, the weight of it all sinking in. I had taken the biggest risk of my life. And somehow the world hadn't ended. 2 days passed. The video had been seen over 18,000 times. My inbox was full. Not just with support, though there was plenty of that, but with questions. DMs from strangers. Coworkers I hadn't heard from in months. Even my cousin from out of town messaged me saying, I didn't know. I wish I'd known sooner. But not everyone was kind. There were comments too sharp to read all the way through. Some were cruel. Some were confused. Some just wanted me to disappear. I kept the phone turned upside down most of the day. Emma stayed close. Never smothering, just there. Her presence was my shield. By the third night, I found myself standing by the living room window in a nightshirt and leggings, barefoot on the cold floor, looking out at the quiet street. It should have felt peaceful. Instead, my heart was thudding again. I was still waiting for something, some moment of clarity. Or collapse. I didn't know which. The wig sat on the table behind me.
Brushed.
Styled. Ready. But I hadn't put it back on since the video. Part of me was scared that the version of Riley who posted that clip, that brave, confident version, had vanished. Like she was only strong in front of a camera, but not here.
Not now.
I stepped closer to the mirror above the couch. The girl staring back looked tired. Faint traces of old eyeliner still smudged at the corners of her eyes. Could I still be her? Or had I broken something by letting the world in? That's when I heard it. A knock. Again. But this time, it wasn't the heavy, intrusive kind. It was gentle.
Soft.
3 knocks. A pause. I peeked out the peephole. It was Mrs. Carson, my neighbor, in her 60s. Always baked too many cookies. Always asked me to help fix her Wi-Fi.
Kind. Sweet.
And now, standing at my door. I opened it halfway, unsure what to expect. Her face lit up. Hi, sweetheart, she said, like nothing had changed. Hi. She reached into her tote and pulled out a folded piece of pink fabric. I was cleaning out my closet. Found this scarf. Too bright for me, but it made me think of you. She handed it to me. My hands shook as I accepted it. It's silly, she said, shrugging. But I saw your video, and I thought, that girl would look beautiful in pink. Tears rose in my eyes. You're not upset? Mrs. Carson gave a little scoff. Honey, life's too short to be upset about someone being brave. I choked back emotion. Thank you. She smiled. You're welcome, Riley. She turned and left without another word. I stepped back inside, closed the door behind me, and stared at the scarf in my hand.
It was soft.
A pale cotton candy pink. Simple. But to me, it was a crown. A symbol.
A sign.
I walked over to the vanity,
Picked up the wig.
gently, reverently, placed it on my head, ran my fingers through the strands like I was saying hello again. I wrapped the scarf around my neck, just once. Then I looked in the mirror. She was back. Not in hiding. Not in fear. But as herself. Riley. And she was finally ready for the world. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from anxiety, not this time. But from something else, an overwhelming sense that the world I used to live in no longer fit. The name Ryan was starting to feel like an echo, fading further with every heartbeat. In its place, Riley bloomed. I didn't know what it meant yet. Was this just part of me, or the real me? I had no roadmap. No clear destination. But for once, I wasn't scared to ask the questions. Around midnight, I stepped out onto the apartment balcony. The city was asleep, windows glowing like soft stars. The breeze tugged at my pink scarf, the one Mrs. Carson had given me, the one I hadn't taken off since she handed it over like a sacred offering. Down below, the courtyard looked different now. It was the same brick and stone path I'd walked 100 times before, but tonight, it felt like I was seeing it for the first time.
Like it was part of her world now.
My world. The door creaked open behind me.
Emma.
She walked out barefoot, hoodie draped over her nightshirt, and leaned on the railing beside me. She didn't say anything at first. She just watched me. "You're glowing," she whispered. I smiled. "I feel like I'm finally breathing." She reached over and took my hand. "So, what happens next?" I didn't have an answer. And maybe that was okay. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I think I want to try living like this for a while. See who I really am outside of hiding." Emma nodded slowly, like she'd already made peace with that. "And what about work?" she asked. "Ben's keeping your secret, but what if someone else sees the video?" I hesitated. "I think I'm done pretending. If people find out, they find out." Emma exhaled deeply. "Okay, then I'll stand next to you. Every step." I felt her fingers tighten around mine. We stayed there in silence, gazing out into the sleeping city. But just as I turned to go back inside, my phone buzzed on the table behind me. A new message. From my manager. "Hi, Ryan. We need to talk tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. In person." My stomach dropped. Emma saw my face fall. "What is it?" I showed her the screen. Her lips pressed into a line. "Do you think he saw the video?" I nodded slowly. "Maybe." Neither of us spoke for a moment. The wind picked up, carrying the city's stillness with it. My scarf fluttered against my collarbone. Emma stepped close, brushing a lock of hair behind my ear. "No matter what happens tomorrow," she said, "you were real tonight. That matters." I kissed her softly, then looked back at the message. 9 a.m. It could mean anything. An invitation to talk. A warning. A threat. But whatever it was, I knew I'd walk in as Riley. And I wouldn't hide again.